Have you ever stumbled upon a hidden door that wasn't supposed to exist? When Sam inherits his grandmother's old bookstore, a mysterious discovery behind one of the shelves reveals secrets that could change his life forever. What did he find inside? Sam Harris stared at the pink slip in his hands, the words termination of employment blurring as his eyes welled up. He blinked hard, forcing back the tears. He couldn't cry. Not now. Not when his son needed him to be strong. "Dad!" Noah's voice called from the living room. "You okay in there?" Sam took a deep breath, plastering on a smile he didn't feel. "Yeah, buddy. Just fine," he lied, emerging from his bedroom. Noah sat on the worn couch, homework spread across the coffee table. At 15, he was all gangly limbs and uncertain smiles, reminding Sam of himself at that age. But unlike Sam, Noah was struggling in school, a fact that gnawed at Sam's conscience. "How's the math coming along?" Sam asked, ruffling Noah's hair as he passed. Noah shrugged, pencil tapping an anxious rhythm on his textbook. "It's going." Sam's heart sank. He wanted to help, but how could he when he could barely keep a roof over their heads? The stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen counter seemed to mock him. Just then the mailbox creaked. "I'll get it," Sam said, grateful for the distraction. He thumbed through the usual suspects, bills, ads, more bills, when an official-looking envelope caught his eye. Samuel Harris was printed in neat typeface, the return address unfamiliar. With trembling fingers, he tore it open. "Dear Mr. Harris," he read aloud, Noah now peering over his shoulder. "We regret to inform you of the passing of your grandmother, Eleanor Harris. As her sole living heir, you have inherited." Sam's voice trailed off, his mind reeling. Grandmother Eleanor? The woman he hadn't seen since he was Noah's age? The one who had all but disowned his father and by extension him? "Dad!" Noah prodded. "What did you inherit?" Sam skimmed the rest of the letter, his frown deepening. "A bookstore," he said flatly. "In some town I've never heard of." Noah's eyes lit up. "Cool. When can we go see it?" "We're not going anywhere," Sam snapped, crumpling the letter. "I want nothing to do with that woman or her charity." Noah flinched at his father's tone, and Sam immediately regretted his outburst. "I'm sorry, Bud," he said softer. It's complicated." Noah nodded, but the spark had faded from his eyes. He turned back to his homework, shoulders slumped. Sam watched him, guilt and uncertainty warring in his chest. The pink slip seemed to burn a hole in his pocket. The unpaid bills loomed large in his peripheral vision. And now this inheritance, a lifeline or a curse. Have you ever stumbled upon a hidden door that wasn't supposed to exist? When Sam inherits his grandmother's old bookstore, a mysterious discovery behind one of the shelves reveals secrets that could change his life forever. What did he find inside? Sam Harris stared at the pink slip in his hands, the words termination of employment blurring as his eyes welled up. He blinked hard, forcing back the tears. He couldn't cry. Not now. Not when his son needed him to be strong. "Dad!" Noah's voice called from the living room. "You okay in there?" Sam took a deep breath, plastering on a smile he didn't feel. "Yeah, buddy. Just fine," he lied, emerging from his bedroom. Noah sat on the worn couch, homework spread across the coffee table. At 15, he was all gangly limbs and uncertain smiles, reminding Sam of himself at that age. But unlike Sam, Noah was struggling in school, a fact that gnawed at Sam's conscience. "How's the math coming along?" Sam asked, ruffling Noah's hair as he passed. Noah shrugged, pencil tapping an anxious rhythm on his textbook. "It's going." Sam's heart sank. He wanted to help, but how could he when he could barely keep a roof over their heads? The stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen counter seemed to mock him. Just then the mailbox creaked. "I'll get it," Sam said, grateful for the distraction. He thumbed through the usual suspects, bills, ads, more bills, when an official-looking envelope caught his eye. Samuel Harris was printed in neat typeface, the return address unfamiliar. With trembling fingers, he tore it open. "Dear Mr. Harris," he read aloud, Noah now peering over his shoulder. "We regret to inform you of the passing of your grandmother, Eleanor Harris. As her sole living heir, you have inherited." Sam's voice trailed off, his mind reeling. Grandmother Eleanor? The woman he hadn't seen since he was Noah's age? The one who had all but disowned his father and by extension him? "Dad," Noah prodded. "What did you inherit?" Sam skimmed the rest of the letter, his frown deepening. "A bookstore," he said flatly. "In some town I've never heard of." Noah's eyes lit up. "Cool. When can we go see it?" "We're not going anywhere," Sam snapped, crumpling the letter. "I want nothing to do with that woman or her charity." Noah flinched at his father's tone, and Sam immediately regretted his outburst. "I'm sorry, Bud," he said softer. It's complicated." Noah nodded, but the spark had faded from his eyes. He turned back to his homework, shoulders slumped. Sam watched him, guilt and uncertainty warring in his chest. The pink slip seemed to burn a hole in his pocket. The unpaid bills loomed large in his peripheral vision. And now this inheritance, a lifeline or a curse. As night fell, Sam lay awake, the crumpled letter smoothed out on his nightstand. In the stillness, he could almost hear his grandmother's voice, a faint memory from childhood. "Samuel, my boy, sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single page." He turned over, pushing the thought away. But as sleep finally claimed him, he couldn't shake the feeling that somehow, somewhere, Eleanor Harris was smiling. The last thing Sam wanted was to be driving down a dusty road to nowhere, chasing ghosts and false hopes. Yet here he was, knuckles white on the steering wheel, with Noah beside him practically vibrating with excitement. "How much further, Dad?" Noah asked for the 100th time, nose pressed against the window. "Same site. GPS says 10 more minutes." A week ago, he'd been dead set against this trip, but life had a funny way of changing plans. The final notice from the bank, threatening foreclosure on their small apartment, had been the last straw. That, coupled with a call from Noah's school about his failing grades, had forced Sam's hand. "Maybe this bookstore thing won't be so bad," Noah ventured, breaking the silence. "I mean, you like books, right?" Sam managed a weak smile. "Sure, buddy. But running a business is different from reading for fun." As they rounded a bend, the town came into view. Quaint buildings lined the main street, their faded paint telling stories of better days gone by. "There it is," Sam murmured, spotting a weathered sign that read Eleanor's Books. His heart sank. The bookstore looked even worse than he'd imagined. Peeling paint, a sagging roof, and windows so grimy he could barely see inside. This was supposed to be their fresh start? Noah, however, was out of the car before it fully stopped. "This is awesome," he exclaimed, taking in the dilapidated building with wonder. Sam followed more slowly, key in hand. As he approached the door, a chill ran down his spine. For a moment, he could have sworn he smelled his grandmother's perfume, lavender and old books. The key stuck in the lock. Sam jiggled it, frustration mounting. Finally, with a groan of protesting metal, the door swung open. A musty smell assaulted them. Dust motes danced in the dim light filtering through dirty windows. Rows upon rows of bookshelves stretched into shadowy recesses. "Whoa!" Noah breathed, stepping inside. "It's like a maze in here." Sam flicked a light switch. Nothing happened. "Great," he muttered. "Electricity's out." As Noah wandered deeper into the store, Sam's gaze fell on a portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. His grandmother stared back at him, her eyes twinkling with a secret only she knew. Suddenly, a crash echoed from the back of the store. "Noah!" Sam called, panic rising in his throat. No answer. Heart pounding, Sam rushed toward the sound. He rounded a corner to find Noah sprawled on the floor, surrounded by fallen books. But it wasn't the mess that made Sam's breath catch. Behind where the books had been, a small door was set into the wall. A door that had no business being there. Noah looked up, eyes wide with excitement and a touch of fear. "Dad," he whispered, "I think I found something." As Sam helped his son up, his fingers brushed against the hidden door. It swung open with a soft creak, revealing a small, dark space beyond. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air felt charged, as if the very bookstore was holding its breath. "Should we look inside?" Noah asked, voice barely above a whisper. Sam hesitated. Every instinct told him to close the door, pack up, and leave this place and its memories behind. But something, curiosity, fate, or perhaps his grandmother's lingering presence, made him reach for the flashlight on his keychain. "Together," he said, taking Noah's hand. As the beam of light pierced the darkness, revealing the glint of metal and the edge of what looked like an old journal, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to change forever. Whether for better or worse remained to be seen. The beam of Sam's flashlight danced across the hidden room, revealing shelves lined with leather-bound journals, faded photographs, and trinkets covered in a thick layer of dust. Noah squeezed past him, eyes wide with wonder. "Dad, look!" Noah exclaimed, reaching for a journal. As his fingers brushed the spine, a gust of wind swept through the room. Pages rustled, and for a split second, Sam could have sworn he heard a woman's laughter. "Did you hear that?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Noah nodded, clutching the journal to his chest. "Maybe it's great-grandma Eleanor saying hello?" Sam shook his head, trying to dispel the eerie feeling. "Let's just see what's in that journal." They settled on the dusty floor, Noah carefully opening the book. Sam's breath caught as he recognized his grandmother's elegant handwriting. "June 15th, 1960, Noah read aloud. "Today, I opened the doors of Eleanor's books for the first time. This town needs more than just a place to buy novels. It needs a sanctuary." As Noah's voice filled the small room, the bookstore seemed to come alive around them. Sam could almost see his grandmother, young and determined, arranging books on shelves and greeting curious customers. Suddenly, a sharp knock on the front door made them both jump. "Hello? Anyone in there?" a voice called out. Sam and Noah exchanged glances. "Stay here," Sam whispered, making his way to the front of the store. He opened the door to find an elderly woman peering up at him, her eyes twinkling with recognition. "Well, if it isn't little Sammy Harris, all grown up." Sam blinked in surprise. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" The woman chuckled. "I'm Rose, dear. I was your grandmother's best friend. And you," she said, poking him gently in the chest, "used to run around this store in diapers." Before Sam could respond, Noah appeared at his side, still clutching Eleanor's journal. Rose's eyes lit up. "And who's this handsome young man?" "I'm Noah," he said, extending his hand politely. "Did you really know my great-grandmother?" Rose's smile softened. "Oh, I did. Eleanor was the heart of this town, always helping those in need, especially troubled youth. This wasn't just a bookstore, you know. It was a haven." As Rose regaled them with stories of Eleanor's kindness and the impact she had on the community, Sam felt a strange mix of pride and regret. How had he never known this side of his grandmother? Just then, the lights flickered to life, startling all three of them. "Well, would you look at that?" Rose mused. "Seems like Eleanor's welcoming you home." Sam laughed nervously. The electricity must have just kicked in. But as they turned to look at the now illuminated store, a book tumbled from a high shelf, landing open at Sam's feet. He bent to pick it up, and his heart skipped a beat. It was a photo album, and there, smiling up at him, was a picture of himself as a young boy, sitting on Eleanor's lap as she read him a story. The memory hit him like a tidal wave, the warmth of her embrace, the soothing sound of her voice. How could he have forgotten? "Dad!" Noah's concerned voice broke through his reverie. "Are you okay?" Sam nodded, wiping away a tear he hadn't realized had fallen. "Yeah, buddy. I think we're exactly where we're supposed to be." As night fell, Sam and Noah bid farewell to Rose, promising to visit her soon for more stories about Eleanor. They settled into the small apartment above the bookstore, surrounded by boxes of Eleanor's belongings they had yet to explore. Noah yawned, flipping through the journal. "Hey, Dad, listen to this. To whoever finds this, know that books have power. They can change lives, heal hearts, and reveal truths long forgotten. Take care of this place, and it will take care of you." Sam smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. For the first time since arriving, he felt a glimmer of hope. But as he tucked Noah into bed and turned to leave, he froze. There, on the desk, was a note that hadn't been there before. In handwriting eerily similar to Eleanor's, it read, "Welcome home, Samuel. Your journey is just beginning." Sam stared at the note, a chill running down his spine. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, and somewhere in the distance, a bell chimed. The bookstore, it seemed, had secrets yet to reveal. The morning sun filtered through the dusty windows of Eleanor's books, casting long shadows across the cluttered aisles. Sam stood behind the counter, a cup of coffee in hand, surveying the mess before him. It had been a week since they arrived, and the task of sorting through years of accumulated books and memories seemed more daunting by the day. Noah bounded down the stairs, full of teenage energy. "Morning, Dad. What's the plan for today?" Before Sam could answer, the bell above the door chimed. A tall man in an expensive suit strode in, his polished shoes clicking against the worn wooden floor. "Mr. Harris?" the man asked, extending his hand. "I'm James Fitch from Fitch Development." Sam shook his hand warily. "What can I do for you, Mr. Fitch?" James' smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'll cut to the chase. This property is the last piece I need for a major redevelopment project. I'm prepared to offer you a very generous sum for the bookstore." Sam's heart raced. The amount James mentioned would solve all their financial problems and then some. It was tempting, so tempting. Suddenly, a book tumbled from a nearby shelf, landing with a thud at James' feet. The developer jumped, startled. Noah picked up the book, his eyes widening as he read the title, The Power of Community by Eleanor Harris. "I didn't know Great-Grandma wrote a book," Noah said, flipping through the pages. James cleared his throat, clearly annoyed by the interruption. "Mr. Harris, I'll need an answer soon. This offer won't be on the table forever." As if in response, the lights flickered ominously. A chill swept through the store, raising goosebumps on Sam's arms. "I'll think about it," Sam managed, his voice shaky. After James left, Noah turned to his father, clutching Eleanor's book. "Dad, we can't sell this place." "It feels wrong," Sam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, buddy, but we might not have a choice." Just then the bell chimed again. This time it was Rose, followed by a group of townspeople. Their faces were a mix of concern and determination. "We heard about Fitch's offer," Rose said, her voice firm. "We can't let you sell without knowing the truth about this place." One by one, the townspeople began to share their stories. A middle-aged woman spoke of how Eleanor had given her a safe haven when she fled an abusive relationship. An elderly man recounted how the bookstore had been a sanctuary for him during the turbulent 1960s, when he was struggling with his identity. As the stories flowed, the bookstore seemed to come alive. Books shifted on their shelves, warm breezes carried the scent of old paper and lavender, and the lights glowed with a soft, comforting radiance. Overwhelmed, Sam sank into a chair. "I had no idea," he whispered. Rose placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Eleanor didn't just run a bookstore, Sam. She created a community. A family for those who had none." Noah, who had been listening intently, suddenly gasped. "Dad, look." He pointed to a section of the wall where a piece of peeling wallpaper had curled away, revealing a hidden safe. With trembling hands, Sam approached the safe. Somehow he knew the combination, his birthday. As the door swung open, he found a stack of documents and a letter addressed to him. "My dearest Samuel," he read aloud, his voice thick with emotion. "If you're reading this, then you've finally found your way back home. There's so much I wanted to tell you, so much I need you to understand." But before he could continue, a commotion outside interrupted them. James Fitch had returned, this time with a team of surveyors. "Harris," James called out, "I need your decision now. We're ready to begin planning the demolition." The word demolition hung in the air like a thunderclap. The townspeople exchanged worried glances, and Noah clutched his father's arm. Sam looked around at the faces watching him, his son, Rose, the community that his grandmother had nurtured. Then his eyes fell on Eleanor's portrait, and for a moment, he could have sworn she winked at him. In that instant, Sam knew what he had to do. But as he opened his mouth to respond to James, the lights in the bookstore suddenly went out, plunging them into darkness. In the pitch black, a soft, familiar voice whispered in Sam's ear, "Remember, my boy, sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a single page." As quickly as it had come, the darkness lifted. The lights flickered back to life, leaving everyone blinking in confusion. Everyone, that is, except Sam, who stood tall, a newfound determination in his eyes. "Mr. Fitch," he said, his voice steady, "I think we need to talk." The tension in Eleanor's books was palpable as Sam faced James Fitch. The developer's confident smirk had faded, replaced by a look of confusion and frustration. "Mr. Fitch," Sam began, his voice steady, "I appreciate your offer, but this bookstore isn't for sale. Not now, not ever. A collective sigh of relief swept through the gathered townspeople. Noah beamed at his father, pride shining in his eyes. James' face reddened. "You're making a mistake, Harris. This building is falling apart. You'll be bankrupt within a year." As if in response to his words, a loud creak echoed through the store. A section of shelving swung open like a door, revealing a hidden room. "What in the world?" Sam muttered, stepping closer. Inside the secret space, they found stacks of leather-bound journals, each labeled with a year. Sam picked up the most recent one, his hands trembling slightly as he opened it. "It's some kind of ledger," he said, skimming the pages. His eyes widened. "These are records of scholarships? Community projects?" Rose nodded, a knowing smile on her face. Eleanor never stopped giving, even when the store struggled. She believed in investing in people, not just profits. As Sam flipped through the ledger, a yellowed envelope fell out. His name was written on it in his grandmother's elegant script. With bated breath, he opened the letter and began to read aloud. "My dearest Samuel, if you're reading this, then you've discovered the heart of Eleanor's books. This store was never just about selling books. It was about building a community, nurturing dreams, and providing a haven for those in need. I regret the years we lost, the misunderstandings that kept us apart. But I always believed you would find your way back here, where you belong. There's more to your inheritance than just this building. In the safe behind my portrait, you'll find documents for a trust one set up years ago. It was meant for your education, Samuel, a future I hoped you'd embrace. Now I leave it in your hands to use as you see fit, for yourself, for Noah, for this community that has become our family. Remember, my boy, the true value of a legacy isn't measured in dollars, but in the lives we touch and the stories we share. All my love, Grandma Eleanor." Sam's voice cracked as he finished reading. The room was silent, save for a few sniffles from the emotional townspeople. Noah, who had been exploring the hidden room, suddenly called out, "Dad, there's something else here." He emerged, holding a large, ornate key. As soon as Sam touched it, the key seemed to vibrate with energy. "I've seen this before," Rose gasped. "In Eleanor's old stories. She called it the key of imagination, said it could unlock hidden wonders in the store, but only for those pure of heart." James Fitch scoffed. "This is ridiculous. Hidden rooms? Magic keys? You're all living in a fantasy." But even as he spoke, the key in Sam's hand began to glow. A soft, melodious hum filled the air, and the bookshelves around them started to shift and move. "Dad," Noah whispered, awe in his voice, "I think the bookstore is changing." Indeed, before their eyes, Eleanor's books was transforming. The peeling wallpaper renewed itself, faded books regained their vibrant colors, and dust vanished as if it had never been. The entire store seemed to expand, revealing cozy reading nooks, a charming cafe area, and even a small stage for readings and performances. James stumbled back, his face pale. This is impossible." Sam turned to him, a mix of wonder and determination in his eyes. "Mr. Fitch, I think it's time for you to leave. This bookstore has a higher purpose, and we intend to honor it." As James fled, the townspeople erupted in cheers. Rose hugged Sam tightly, tears in her eyes. "Eleanor would be so proud of you, dear." Noah tugged on his father's sleeve, pointing to Eleanor's portrait. Sam could have sworn he saw his grandmother's painted eyes twinkle and her smile widen. As the excitement settled, Sam addressed the crowd. "Folks, it looks like we have a lot of work ahead of us. Eleanor's books isn't just my inheritance. It belongs to all of us. Together, we'll make it the heart of this community once again." The air buzzed with excitement and possibility. As Sam looked around at the renewed bookstore, at the smiling faces of his newfound family, he felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't experienced in years. Somewhere in the distance, a clock chimed midnight. Sam realized that in just a few short weeks, his entire world had changed. What had started as an unwanted inheritance had become the greatest adventure of his life. And as Noah hugged him tightly, whispering, "We're home, Dad," Sam knew that their story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. 1 year had passed since the night Eleanor's books revealed its true magic. The once dilapidated store now stood as a beacon of warmth and wonder in the heart of the town. Its windows glowed invitingly, and the sound of laughter and animated discussions often spilled out onto the street. Sam stood behind the counter, surveying the scene before him with a smile. The cafe area buzzed with activity. Students hunched over textbooks while sipping steaming mugs of cocoa. In one corner, Rose led a lively book club discussion, and on the small stage, a local author was setting up for a reading of her latest novel. "Here's the new shipment, Dad," Noah called, maneuvering a dolly stacked with boxes through the front door. At 16, he'd grown taller, more confident. The struggling student of a year ago had blossomed into an avid reader and the bookstore's unofficial tech guru. As Sam helped his son unpack the books, a glint of metal caught his eye. The key of imagination hung on a delicate chain around Noah's neck, a birthday gift and a symbol of the legacy he was growing into. Just then, the bell above the door chimed. A young woman entered, looking lost and a little scared. Sam recognized the look. It was the same one he'd worn when he first arrived in town. "Welcome to Eleanor's Books," he said warmly. "I'm Sam. Can I help you find something?" The woman hesitated. "I'm not sure. I felt drawn here somehow, like the store was calling to me." She blushed, embarrassed. "That sounds crazy, doesn't it?" Sam exchanged a knowing glance with Noah. "Not at all," he assured her. "Why don't you take a look around? Sometimes the right book has a way of finding you." As the woman wandered into the stacks, Sam felt a familiar presence. He turned to see Eleanor's portrait, her eyes twinkling with that mischievous spark he'd come to know so well. "Another lost soul for us, Grandma," he murmured with a smile. The portrait didn't answer, of course, but a warm breeze ruffled Sam's hair, carrying the faint scent of lavender. Later that evening, after the last customer had left and Noah had gone upstairs to finish his homework, Sam sat in Eleanor's old armchair, surrounded by the gentle creaking of settling bookshelves. He pulled out the final journal they'd discovered in the hidden room, the one they hadn't been able to open until now. The lock had clicked open that morning, as if deciding it was finally time to share its secrets. Sam began to read, his grandmother's words washing over him. "My dearest Samuel and Noah, if you're reading this, then the bookstore has worked its magic once again. You've not only found your way back home, but you've also discovered the true heart of what I tried to build here. This place has always been more than just a store. It's a sanctuary for dreamers, a haven for the lost, and a bridge between worlds, the real and the imagined, the past and the future. Samuel, my boy, I've watched you grow into the man I always knew you could be. Your kindness, your strength, and your willingness to believe in a little magic. These are the qualities that will keep Eleanor's Books thriving for generations to come. And Noah, my bright young star, you have a special gift. The key of imagination chose you for a reason. Trust in it and in yourself. You'll do wondrous things, I've no doubt. Remember, both of you, that the greatest stories are the ones we write ourselves, with every choice we make and every life we touch. I am so proud of you, my dears. Though I may no longer be with you in person, know that my love surrounds you always in every book, every nook, and every magic moment in this special place we call home. All my love, Grandma Eleanor." As Sam closed the journal, a tear slipped down his cheek. He looked up at Eleanor's portrait, which seemed to glow softly in the dim light. "Thank you," he whispered. Just then, Noah bounded down the stairs, the key of imagination glowing faintly against his chest. "Dad!" he exclaimed, eyes shining with excitement. "You won't believe what I just figured out. I think I know how to use the key to create a whole new section in the store. A magical reading room that changes to suit each reader's needs." Sam laughed, his heart full of love and pride. "Well then, what are we waiting for? Let's write the next chapter of Eleanor's Books together." As father and son set off to explore this new adventure, the bookstore hummed with contentment. Outside, the town settled into a peaceful evening, and somewhere, just beyond the veil of reality, Eleanor Harris smiled, knowing that her legacy was in good hands. And that's the incredible journey of Sam and Noah, discovering the hidden legacy within Eleanor's bookstore. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more captivating tales, and share this video with someone who loves a good mystery. Your support helps us keep bringing you more inspiring stories. See you in the next one.